Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff. Some people do stupid things. Don't do stupid things. You are about to hear my opinion. Do your own research.
Welcome back to Rabbit Hole Theories. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the lottery. Do you remember when they used to air the numbers being picked on television? Do you notice that every store where you can play the lottery also has cameras? Some small town stores with little to no cameras don't have the lottery. Is it possible that they choose who wins? On another note, what are the odds of a big winning scratch-off being sold at a store like this versus a store like this? Next time you think about buying a scratch-off, take a short drive to the rich part of town. You might be surprised with how much more you win. Remember, the rich get richer. This is for entertainment purposes only.
I don't know that that's totally accurate. I do know that a lot of people do tend to go to the larger, better looking, like gas stations, liquor stores, and they're probably going to purchase their lottery tickets there. But as a kid, I do remember them on live TV having the wheel and drawing out the numbers. I don't know if they do that anymore. And if they don't, it's probably because they already have every combination of every number of ticket that's been sold, and they can just not choose those numbers or choose those numbers. Do they still do that? I haven't had regular TV and I don't even know how long, and I don't even know how it's done anymore.
The disappearance of Dovland, Wisconsin. If you've ever gone digging around for internet rabbit holes, you might have heard of a town called Dovland, Wisconsin. If the name sounds unfamiliar, Dovland is described by users in online forums and groups as a small town in Wisconsin that housed hundreds of military families in the previous century. And it's often mentioned that the town was made for the sole purpose of building Project Sanguine. Project Sanguine was a US Navy project proposed in 1968 to improve communications with submerged submarines using extremely low-frequency radio waves. The initially proposed system for Project Sanguine, which was meant to survive a full-fledged nuclear attack, would have required a giant antenna consisting of 6,000 miles of buried cables in a rectangular grid covering 2/5 of the state of Wisconsin. Although this system was never implemented because of protests from residents of neighboring towns, several sources claim that a smaller, modified system was built in Dovland in the 70s. At first, the story of Dovland might not sound like anything out of the ordinary, except for one detail. It's long been believed that at some point in the 1990s, the entire town of Dovland, Wisconsin somehow disappeared off the face of the earth. Strangely, Dovland doesn't appear on any maps, and if you look up information on the town today, you won't find any official reports about its history, which is incredibly strange considering that over the years, a huge number of internet users have claimed to have relatives who used to live in the town. For example, a user named Jamie Ivanov posted the following account of the rural town on Reddit. I just learned of all the noise surrounding Dovland, and I think I can add some insight. Dovland was a small town in Wisconsin that housed a lot of military families. My father lived there for a year or two and spoke of it occasionally. The main thing I remember is that it had to do with Project Sanguine in the early 60s. I don't think it was X-Files type stuff, but the town was destroyed after an incident. I thought they were digging up a ton of land for something and they flooded the town or something, but this is a rehashed secondhand memory from years ago. In several online forums, websites, and groups, people have also uploaded pictures of shirts, mugs, and other souvenirs from the town. One particular post on the obscure Urban Legends Wikia page even features a photo that was supposedly recovered from Dovland, Wisconsin. The image in question shows a middle-aged waiter sitting next to a young woman who puts her arm around him as they both smile at the camera. On the right-hand side, a young kid can also be seen sitting across the table from them. Although the image has been reposted in many online forums and groups, there seems to be no evidence at all that suggests the picture was actually taken at a restaurant in the allegedly vanished town. In the past decade, many people have also reported a digital ghost trace of Dovland in the form of Google search autocorrect and recommended search options suggesting the term Dovland, Wisconsin. But mysteriously, the suggestion doesn't lead the user anywhere in particular, which is added to the mystery surrounding the town.
Guess what I have? Part 2.
Throughout these past 2 decades, reports of vanished towns have been pretty common in the online mystery and horror community, but there's one thing in particular that makes Dovland stand out from other urban legends of towns that have disappeared off the face of the earth. Some of the most notorious vanished towns have been found to be part of different alternate reality games, or even online publicity campaigns for movies and video games. But from my research, nothing like this can be linked to Dovland, Wisconsin, and everything seems to indicate that this town never actually existed. The earliest mention I was able to find of the town was in a 2015 Tumblr post, in which a user asked if anyone had ever heard of the small rural town of Dovland, Wisconsin, after which the OP discussed the main theories behind the phenomenon of the alleged vanished town. One of the more far-fetched theories that has gained traction in online forums is that Dublin did exist back in the day, but a freak accident that occurred during Project Sanguine somehow shifted the entire town into another dimension, or we shifted into a reality where the town never existed. Obviously, this is a bit of a stretch, but a more down-to-earth theory is that something did happen during Project Sanguine that turned the entire town of Dublin into an uninhabitable wasteland, forcing the military to cover up their mistake by evacuating the families that lived there and destroying the entire town. Many users seem to favor this theory, but the fact that most accounts of the town's existence have come from online users and not from people who actually live there or from residents of neighboring towns suggests that the whole thing might be an example of mass delusion, which brings us to a more realistic and widely accepted theory. Although it's unlikely that a large number of users met in secret and agreed to spread lies about the town across various online platforms just to mess with people, it is possible that Dublin, Wisconsin is an example of what social psychologists call the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect describes an eerie phenomenon whereby a large number of people collectively misremember events, historical facts, and other famous pop culture moments, such as when people misremember Ilsa Lund's line from Casablanca as "Play it again, Sam." In the movie, the real line is "Play it once, Sam," but many people swear they remember it differently. With all the memorabilia of Dublin that has emerged online in the past decade, it's possible that certain residents of Wisconsin associated the name of the town with another town they had visited, which could have led to the mass confusion that became apparent in various online forums. The Google recommended search and autocorrect bug that is still active today could simply be the result of thousands of people worldwide searching for the town, bumping up the importance of the town's name in the algorithm, which could also explain the emergence of souvenirs from Dublin. As often happens when new trends take over the internet, the rise of memorabilia from the fictitious town was most likely an attempt to make a few dollars by people who use bots to find trending topics in forums and automatically generate merchandise related to them. Although this seems to be the most likely theory, the Dublin, Wisconsin phenomenon is extremely odd and has no clear conclusion on whether or not it actually ever existed, which has contributed to its status as one of the most mysterious rabbit holes of the decade.
I can't believe I've never heard of Dublin. Well, I'm pretty sure I've never heard of Dublin. Have you ever heard of it? I think it's super cool. So either this city never actually existed, or it was just disappeared for one reason or another. I did a quick search and I found a few cool theories about how this place disappeared. There's the natural disaster theory that suggests an earthquake created a massive sinkhole and the town was destroyed by a dam failure, so it flooded it all away. Or that there was a military science experiment happening there and it went wrong. The paranormal shift is pretty cool. They think that it either vanished or shifted to another dimension, with residents now existing outside of our reality. So I think this is really cool. This is like a crazy mystery. Did it actually exist, or are we all just being tricked to believe that it did exist? Or being tricked to believe that it didn't exist?
Area 51 is likely a red herring. Hear me out. It is public knowledge that Area 51 exists, and it's pretty easy to get to considering there are practically no barriers around it. If the government really wanted to keep any sort of experimentation on aliens secret, they would do so on a secluded island where nobody could find out about their experiments.
That actually makes a bunch of sense. Like a little bit of information gets leaked, right? And then everyone's talking about it. Everyone's flocking over there to this super secret base where crazy alien stuff is going on, and we're all looking over here. Well, they're over there doing other things. Oh, hey, while you're over there doing other things, would you do me a favor and hit that like button? And if you haven't already, won't you consider subscribing?
A number of things that I've heard from people in the Pentagon, that the buzzword in the secret of secrets in the Pentagon is the Sumerian gods are returning, and that's what they're referring to as that whole area that Peter's.
Wow! Can you repeat that again, just in case anybody missed it? The buzzword
in the Pentagon, and the military circles that are in the know about the cover-up here, they kind of in whisper tones talk about the return of the Sumerian gods. And they're talking about the what we would call aliens or fallen angels returning into the Middle East, into Old Sumer area.
The Anunnaki.
Well, could be.
Under the ancient names. Do you think that has anything to do with why we're in a...
I'm not sure when that recording came out, but it sounded like a fairly old recording of like a radio program, probably a coast to coast thing. But every so often there's chatter about the Anunnaki or the Sumerian gods coming back or whoever coming back. Did you see the thing float across the screen? Yeah, there's random dog hair all over the place. It's not an apparition, I promise. And I got totally distracted by the thing. And I don't remember what I was going to say. But it makes me feel like, it pops up every once in a while. They're like, hey, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And then it doesn't happen. And then they're like, oh, no, it's got pushed out for one reason or another. And maybe they're just trying to feel us out to see when the right time to drop Operation Bluebeam is.
80% of the ones you see, like the footage on CNN and all the news media of our Navy jets chasing that Tic Tac thing. 35 years ago, I would have thought that was an extraterrestrial vehicle or alien or something. It turns out it came from the Lockheed Skunk Works out here in the high desert. All right. I know who makes it. I know where they're made. Now, that part of the secret is the biggest part, not the ET part. Because if that gets disclosed honestly, it means we're never going to have to need to burn fossil fuels again or have even solar panels or things that really won't do the trick. It'll be something that would be much smaller than this table that would run this building at what's called the 0-point energy field, which we can discuss what that is. And it would have no impact on the environment negatively, and it would also have zero cost for energy, none. So you're talking about free energy.
So the Tic Tac shaped UAPs are homegrown. I'm sure it's from alien technology that we've obtained over the years, but they're never going to let us know that. I mean, he's going to come out and be like, hey, it's ours, but no, the government's not going to say it because we need to believe that those are extraterrestrial and we have no access to them because they can do things that would make a lot of people lose a lot of money. Can't do that.
Really bad day for Gavin Newsom, y'all. The California sheriff that's running against him just pointed out all of his failed leadership and just basically ended his career. Y'all like the video right here and check this out.
Chad Bianco, Riverside County, California sheriff and California gubernatorial candidate. Gavin Newsom, sheriff, has no shame that he would stand up there now and talk about eradicating homelessness when he has done everything in his power to increase the homeless population.
That's exactly right. He has spent 20 years making sure that we do have a homeless problem in this state. And when we say homeless problem, it's a homeless industrial complex. We don't have homeless on the streets. We have induced psych people on the street that are suffering without a home because they were kicked out for one reason or another. Either their addiction, theft, crime, their emotional behavior, whatever it was. And that's what finds them on the street. They don't want homes. They don't want housing. The law enforcement experts in this state are the ones that deal with this on a daily basis. And our failure of a governor has not once contacted any law enforcement agency to find out how we should be dealing with this crisis. And the bottom line is their policies about are legal in California. We supply them needles. We supply them places to do all the stuff that they're doing. This is what is causing the homeless epidemic. These people are unfortunately rotting in their skins, and he is doing absolutely nothing but funneling taxpayer money to friends and family, NGO members that have these homeless projects that just keep sucking up that $24 billion that are doing absolutely nothing.
Sheriff, what could you do with $24 billion if you were the governor?
I would actually address it for what it is, and it's a psychosis. We absolutely must make sure that these people have the resources that they need to get out of the lifestyle and make sure that we get them the treatment and the help to make them productive members of society once again. They were there before. It's the alcohol that have taken them down this road into even a psychosis point of mental illness where we need the resources going to that. We need rehab, we need alcohol rehab, and we need mental health care facilities in this state. We don't need homes. We don't need tiny homes. We don't need NGOs buying hotels. and them just getting rich off themselves. We need help.
Yeah, just checking in on the worst coast for a second. I do think that Chad Bianco is a great candidate, and I hope that he does become governor because he's got some great ideas. I do remember 25, maybe 30 years ago, we actually did have behavioral health institutions here in California, and it was a huge thing. And the people that were on the streets were able to go there or be taken there to have some help, to get some help, and to become productive members of society again. And as soon as those closed down is when we started spending billions on the homeless situation, and it just kept blowing up because we're just throwing money at them because they don't want it. They need that mental health. And it's not going to happen under Gavin Newsom because he's too busy siphoning money off the top.
One of the strangest coincidences in entertainment history involves Anthony Hopkins, probably best known for playing Hannibal Lecter in the trilogy of films. In 1972, Hopkins was looking for his break in Hollywood. At this point, he had acted in some British films. He wanted to show U.S. producers he had range in his acting. His agent arranged for him to audition for the movie The Girl from Petrova, which is based on the novel by American journalist George Pfeiffer. Hopkins wanted to read the book, but upon visiting a bookstore, he learned it wasn't available in the UK. After visiting the bookstore, he walked to the tube station platform. To his shock, on a bench, he found a bound-or-bind manuscript of The Girl from Petrova. Hopkins, amazed by his luck, used the manuscript to prepare for the film and landed the role. A year after finding the book, he was in Vienna filming the movie. Also there was George Pfeiffer, who wrote the book that the movie was based on. He literally bumped into Hopkins, and the two struck up a conversation. When Pfeiffer told Hopkins he wrote the source material, the actor told the author about his trouble finding a copy of the book in London. Pfeiffer explained that the publication in the UK had been delayed because he lost the manuscript for his book. It had been in his friend's car in London, and it was stolen. Hopkins still had the manuscript he found, and he retrieved it from his dressing room. It was the author's lost manuscript. The film role helped expose Hopkins to American producers, and years later, he moved to Hollywood. Sir Anthony Hopkins went on to win 2 Academy Awards.
What an absolutely incredible story. I did a little bit of searching, of course, which I hate doing, but I did it anyways, and I found multiple sites actually telling the same story. I don't know how true it is. I haven't heard it from the horse's mouth himself, but that's fantastic. If that is how it actually happened, it's like destiny. I mean, I believe we make our own destiny, but that's still pretty cool. As far as Hannibal Lecter, Brian Cox will always be my favorite Hannibal Lecter.
Look, after Selena Gomez, Jennifer Lopez, Celine Dion, Cardi B, and even Justin Bieber, it's now singer Billie Eilish's turn to deal with a mysterious illness. What's happening to her is truly creepy. Most people discovered her back in 2018 when everything seemed to be going great for her. But now, listen to what she confessed to these 2 people.
I'm never feeling happy, so why would I write about things I don't know about? You know, I feel the dark things. I feel them very strongly.
Unfortunately for her, on that day, the 2 doctors didn't understand what she was trying to explain. So she decided to try a different approach. She started drawing the monsters she sees in her nightmares. Here are some of the drawings she made.
Oh, this song. This is a drawing of this song, because the whole song's about, like, monsters under your bed.
They're just terrifying. But wait, it gets even creepier. Hidden messages are said to exist in her song, When the Party's Over. And these messages, they're spine-chilling. You can hear them by playing her music in reverse. But hold on, because the second hidden message is far worse. She says something that sounds like a cry for help. It's as if she's being threatened by something powerful. Could it be that she too made a pact at the start of her career, like so many other artists allegedly have?
That was pretty creepy. I don't know if it's just somebody taking an artist and turning it into like some dark, terrible, sinister story like they've done with just about everybody else, but it certainly is creepy.
The moon is a soul trap that makes you reincarnate. We live in a soul system, not a solar system. No one's trying to trap your soul. Let me explain. The moon does in fact trap your soul, and yes, it does reincarnate you, but it's not how you think it works. Let me break this down for you. You have to understand that you are a physical being, and you have an astral body. Astral body is the body you use when you dream and when you imagine. Imagination is a dimension. There are 7 layers to the astral plane, which are the 7 planets. Moon at the bottom, Saturn at the top, and the sun in the middle. When you die, you are stripped of your physical body, left with thought and emotion inside the astral plane, imagination. Imagination is your biggest power when you die. If you die with your mind and emotions still attached to addiction, sex, lust, and the material things of the world, then you will manifest in the lower astral plane, where low vibrational thoughts and imaginations take place, which is governed by the moon. Most souls in this physical world are attached to physical pleasure, and when they die, they manifest in the moon on the lower astral plane because they still desire the physical plane. When you are there and you can't fulfill your physical desire, you will reincarnate yourself. In order to ascend to the higher astral planes, we must detach from the external world before we die. If your soul is detached from the world, then you will merge with the sun. Hence why Jesus says, you can only reach the Father if you go through me. Jesus is the sun, and when you die, your light body will attach to one of the planets depending on your level of awareness. The moon is not a soul trap, it's not reincarnating you. You get yourself there by not preparing for death.
My head explodes a little bit when I see these videos because it's a bit all over the place, but they kind of tie in together sort of in a way. And I'm guessing he's basically saying prepare yourself for death by letting here go. Unless you want to continue to be stuck here, let everything here go and be ready to move to the next level. Speaking of next level, let's watch the last part of our series.
5'5", something like that. They're small by what a man entered on Earth.
What did their eyes look like?
Their eyes were enormous. They were very prominent. They were the most obvious thing you'd see on their face.
Were there any pupils?
I noticed, but I never saw any pupils.
What color were they?
They were almost brown-black. They were very, very dark.
Were they all the same color in terms of the...
Oh, yes.
Did they have any kind of clothing on?
Yes, they had suits on.
What did they look like?
Very much toward like what we call suits. The only thing was, though, that I didn't recognize the fabric. It didn't look like any fabric that I would know as a chemist, or even today that I would recognize.
Were there any kind of fasteners?
Buttons or zippers or ties or something? No, I didn't see any.
What about their shoes?
Their shoes were all, looked like they were connected. They were in one piece. And their hands, their limbs were covered, you know, right down to what we would call the wrist.
What color was it, and was it any kind of trim?
You mean the suit itself? Oh, it had like an insignia on it.
What did the insignia look like?
Gee, I'd have to draw it for you. It looked like a... I'm not an artist, but it looked like something like this. I didn't know what it meant.
The insignia?
The insignia was almost in the middle of the garment. It wasn't off on the side like we would expect it to be.
Did they need any special breathing apparatuses, or did they appear to be breathing on their own?
And that was one of the amazing things that we were startled about, where they could apparently survive in our atmosphere, and they had apparently come such a long way.
Did they seem to indicate that the atmosphere is similar to ours, their breathing?
They asked us about that, and we asked them about it. Yes, they seemed to indicate, yes, that it was quite similar. It was not identical to ours, though, because they claimed they had made tests.
Did they tell you anything about their lifestyle was there?
We tried to find that out, and before we could, they really, we were very interested in not antagonizing them at all, so not to the point where we had them answer too many of ours, so we never really found that out. We just knew that they don't live all above ground, according to what they told us. A lot of their what we would call subterranean.
Did they seem repelled by our appearance since they look so different?
Oh, they thought we were very odd.
Since you indicated that they were either androgynous or had no sex, did they mention how they procreated?
That was another thing which we asked them about, and we couldn't pin down either, but no, they indicated that they had this like we have at all.
Did they tell you how they reproduced? Did they refuse, or they just, nobody probed them?
No, really that.
So they really were kind of limited in what they felt was appropriate to tell you?
I would say so, yes. I would say they were very careful what they revealed.
Did it seem like they wanted to have any kind of continual contact with this planet?
Very definitely, yes. However, they had already almost discounted this as a desirable place to come.
Although the caption was very misleading, that was still an excellent story. I thought it was a great interview, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. I've got a new series set up to start on Wednesday, so I hope you join me on that note. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please come on back in a couple of days. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.